Hi, it's Penny here, and today I'm going to be putting together my TBR for the month of January, so all the books I'm going to read in January. Part of me is feeling like this is too soon because I haven't made my reading goals for 2024 yet. However, it doesn't really matter because we are still finishing off our reading goals for 2023, and actually I don't think I'm going to get through everything, but I can still make progress, and that's the main thing. As usual, I will be trying to use the TBR machine website I made that spits out random reading prompts to pick some of the books off my TBR. However, I am already going to fill quite a few of the slots that I have on library books, new releases, and series continuations. So as I started doing in the last few months, I'm going to try and have one physical book and one audiobook every week. I think that's a reasonable amount to read. It hasn't always worked out since life and Christmas and moving and everything, but I still think it's a good target. So that's what we're going to be doing, which means once again we have 8 slots to fill. So let me tell you about the ones I filled already. Firstly, in the third week, I have The Olympian Affair by Jim Butcher. So this is a book I have from the library, and it is the sequel to The Aeronaut's Windlass. This is a book Jim Butcher released quite a long time ago, and really I think a lot of us had started to doubt whether we would ever get the sequel or any more books in the series. But this second book has finally come out and my library hold came through on it. All I really remember about this series is that there are spires that people live in. It's kind of a little bit of a steampunky world. There are cats as main characters, also like a really eccentric magical guy. The magic is really strange, but honestly I don't really remember much. So this is going to be my physical book for the third week, because in the second week I'm going to listen to the audiobook of the first book to try and remember everything that happened, because otherwise I'm pretty sure I won't remember anything that's going on and I won't be able to follow this. So that fills the audiobook slot in the second week and the physical book slot for the third week. But you might ask, since this is a library book, and to be honest I'm pretty sure it's going to be due back before I get to it, but luckily my library doesn't have fines anymore, so we'll do our best. The reason why I'm not starting this series in the first week is because in the first week I'm still going to be finishing off my December TBR. Oh, I've actually remembered I already allowed for that because I didn't start it until the 8th, but also it's summer holidays in New Zealand. I need to allow time for moving, so let's just leave it that way because probably if we want this TBR to be realistic, it needs to be. I've also realized the physical book for this week is behind me, so let me grab it. So I will be reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This will be a reread for me, and I was expecting it to take me December and January to get to. I haven't started it yet as I'm filming this, but I do hope that I will start it in that week between Christmas and New Year's. And so hopefully, if I'm giving myself the first 2 weeks of the year, even if other stuff is happening, hopefully I can still get through this. It is a long book with a lot to read, so we will see. It is a reread, but I was hoping on this reread to be trying to pick up on a lot of details that I missed the first time I read the Stormlight Archives. So if you haven't heard about this series, this is kind of Brandon Sanderson's really epic fantasy series. There's a lot going on, so it is a hard book series to explain, but kind of there is a big war going on at the same time as these magical powers are starting to reappear in the world, and we're just learning so much in this series. I'm looking forward to rereading the first 3 books this year, and then hopefully reading the 4th book in time for the 5th book to be released at the end of the year. I think I'm going to run out of time, but I'm going to try. Oh, actually, if I was just rereading the Stormlight Archives, I think we'd be okay for time, but the reason why we're not going to do so well is the book in the 4th week. So I also still need to read Mistborn Era 2, and from everything I've heard, I want to read those books in published order amongst the Stormlight Archives, because the Cosmere series start to link in together, and I think I might need some information from Mistborn Era 2 for the Stormlight Archives, but we'll see. Anyway, that means I'll be reading The Alloy of Law in the 4th week, The Alloy of Law, I'm a little bit worried about it. I love the world of Mistborn. It's got this magical power where people consume metals and it gives them different magical abilities. In the first trilogy, we were following this group of people with these powers trying to take down the Lord Ruler, this evil dictator, and we learned a lot about the magic of the world. It is an amazing world. There's so much more going on beyond these metal powers, and I'm excited to be back in the world. The only thing I'm worried about is this is a Western, I think, and I think it's like guns, and then you've got the whole thing with like bullets being able to be manipulated with these powers. I just don't know if the Western thing is going to fly with me, especially because I didn't really like The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson, which has a fair amount of Western elements to it. But I want to read all the books in the Cosmere. I want to know all the links. So we're going to try it. We're going to try it. Hopefully my haul from the library will come through in time. Then, actually, in the 4th week, since it's related, I'm also going to be continuing on with the First Law World by Joe Abercrombie. So this is a grimdark series following like a big cast of characters on different sides of this war. The first trilogy had a bit more of a plot, but mostly these books are very character-based. I have read the first 2 standalones. I liked the first one. The second one, I don't know, I almost liked it. It was very different from the first 4 books. And then I think this third standalone is going to be, again, a Western. It's called Red Country. To be honest, I'm not super excited for it, except that I have enjoyed a lot about Joe Abercrombie's writing and his characters. So I feel like even though I'm not excited for it, somehow he might win me over. I am also going to listen to this on audiobook. I listened to The Heroes, the previous standalone, on audiobook, and I found the audiobook like really great for getting through it. So I think it's the right approach for Red Country, and fingers crossed. So that leaves us with 3 more slots before I use the TBR machine to pick some books for these slots. I still want to fill 1 more up. So basically that first week where I am reading The Way of Kings, I'm also going to try and get through as many or as much of the audiobooks from the Jaren series by Kate Elliott. So this is another fantasy series. It's a really weird one. It is like the Stormlight Archives, has a little bit of sci-fi as well as fantasy. It's set in this world where humans have gone out into the galaxy, into the universe, and discovered that there's already a power out there, an alien race that's already kind of colonized the universe, and humans are a little bit of a rebellious faction within that. And we're following the younger sister of kind of the leader of the human rebellion. And she, though, has ended up on this particular planet living with these nomads who don't know about the rest of the space goings on in the universe. But they do kind of play a part in things. In a lot of ways, it's really a book about this nomadic culture and someone from a more technological future fitting into that and really finding a home amongst these people. It's a little bit fantasy romance, which isn't really my taste, but there's a lot of interesting ideas in the series. And as well, I read this series, or at least I read the first book in my 20s, and I really loved it. I always meant to continue. I did at some point end up with the 3rd book, which I thought was the 2nd book, but it turned out to be the 3rd book. But now I have the audiobooks for the whole series. They've actually just been released on audiobook, so that's exciting, perfect timing for me, because I do sometimes struggle with Kate Elliott's writing. It's a little bit dense for me, and I think with the Jaren books, she just gets really deep into concepts that I'm not always so interested in. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, especially the romance. A little bit toxic for me, but I do want to read all 4 books, so I'll just see how much I can get through before I finish this. And if I don't get through the whole series, I will put them off for next month. But it would be nice to finish the series. I'm getting very close to series 0, being caught up on all my series, so it would be nice. Alright, so now that means we've only got 2 slots to fill. 1 physical book, 1 audiobook. My physical TBR shelf is now just this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's... And also this book I just got for Christmas. Although this is a graphic novel, so I'm kind of thinking I might just slip this in anywhere whenever I need, you know, a relaxing, no-brain kind of night. So really, I'm going to generate 1 prompt for picking a book off here, 1 prompt for a random audiobook off my Goodreads to read list, and we'll see. I actually think I'm going to spin, or I'm going to generate both the prompts and then try and pick the books, just because I've got so few books to pick from now. It gets really hard. So let's do the prompts. Read a book that has won or been nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards. It's possible. These two might have been Game Changer by Neil Shusterman, kind of a dystopian time travel, or more of a time travel kind of YA novel. I've kind of forgotten the plot of this. And then this is Olivia Blake. Oh, this was a really weird one. I don't even know what this is about either. This one maybe, was it on the list? I can't remember. Okay, so there's some options there, but let's spin the next one and then we'll see. Oh, read a book that will make you happy. I can always stretch this clue, so let me do some Goodreads Choice Awards investigations and we'll see what we can find. Okay, so I think I have a plan, even though I'm not sure if it's a great plan, but that's the plan we're going to go with. It turned out that neither of these were in fact nominated or won Goodreads Choice Awards ever, so, you know, I tried to guess the popular books, but I was wrong. But instead, I'm going to pick from my physical books, Road to Oz, this graphic novel, because it'll be a fun, easy read. Also, so these are like graphic novel adaptations of the original Oz books, which I did read a little while ago. And I know that this one includes, where is she? Polychrome, the Rainbow's daughter, which is a character from the Oz books that I really love, and I wish we got more of her. So I will get more of her, so that's exciting. As well, I figured I'd pick something else off my books, and I would like to read this little book that we got with the last Brandon Sanderson Secret Project box, even though it does mean that this month is going to be very Brandon Sanderson heavy, but, you know, I got this very recently. People will be reading this around now because it just came out with the box. This is basically a book that Brandon Sanderson wrote years ago, just a little short story, I think kind of like a dark murder mystery type detective story. It's called Long Chills and Case Dough. I don't really know anything about it other than that I did glimpse through it, and there's like this picture of this woman like smoking, and you can see in the smoke there's like a circuit board kind of design. I don't know, it seems intriguing. I'd like to read it. It's kind of a new release, so I'm gonna read that. That should also make me happy, and it's like 2 quick books to read, but also 2 more books off my physical pile. So now my physical TBR pile will only be 4 books. All of these are books that I obtained in the last 6 months, so I don't have to feel bad about not having read them. And like, I feel like I can technically say that I've got to TBR 0. I've just got like books that are now flowing through the TBR pile rather than getting stuck there. Although I'd like to try and finish these off in the beginning of next year, but we will see. So these will be the books off my TBR that I'm going to add to the TBR, and I will read these in the second week, I guess, while I'm listening to the audiobook of the Aeronaut's Windlass. And then for the audiobook, I actually tried a few, and I did put some holds on at the library that I definitely do not think will come through in time. But the one that I do think will come through in time is When We Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. So this is a book where, for whatever reason, women start turning into dragons. I think it's going to be a very feminist story. Perhaps women turn into dragons when they get particularly angry. I've heard mixed opinions of it, but I love the concept. I love dragons, so I want to pick it up. And so that will be my TBR for January. We will see how January goes. As I said, it is summer holidays here in New Zealand. We are also still looking for a house to buy, which takes up a bunch of time, trying to do my house up for selling. So there's lots going on. Reading isn't always going to be the priority, but we will do our best. Let me know what your reading plans are looking like for January. I do know for all of you in the Northern Hemisphere it's winter, which is a much better time for just snuggling up and reading. So let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you've read anything that I'm going to be reading this month and whether you think I'm going to like it or not. And of course, check back in at the end of the month to see whether I did like it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.